What's going on, guys, man, and welcome back to another tutorial on this channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can make yourself float within Photoshop. Keep in mind I did edit these photos within Lightroom first to get the colors the way I wanted them to look, but it's not mandatory or necessary to edit within Lightroom for this tutorial. All you need is Photoshop. If you want to edit within something else for like the colors and stuff like that, that's cool. Or if you just don't edit your photos at all, that's cool too. You can still edit this within Photoshop, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I did edit these first within Lightroom, but all you need really for this is Photoshop, and then you should be good. But let's get right into this tutorial. All right, so like I said, I did edit these within Lightroom first. So these are the photos that I took and then edit these within Lightroom. I have these 1, 2, and 3. So I'm gonna go over these real quick. So to make this work as best as possible, what you want to do is take at least 2 photos. The first one being the background image, what you want to have in the background with nothing in it, and then the second one being you or whoever the subject is jumping around and making yourself seem like as loose as possible. And what I did to get these photos, or the photo of me jumping around like super tack sharp, all I did was crank up my shutter to 250, or like it might have been close to 400. I think it's around 400. So I cranked up my shutter to 400, and I set my timer on my EOS R to 10 seconds, and that gave me enough time to press the trigger and get back in frame to do this little jumping photo that I just did. And you guys can see I had a lanyard, so that is another element that's going to make it seem like you're actually floating. So if you have something in your pocket or anything to put in your pocket like a lanyard, I highly recommend doing that. It's just going to make the effect like pop out way more. And even when you're jumping around, just try to make yourself as loose as possible. You want to throw your hands up and all that kind of cool stuff. So that's what I did within my images. And then with the lanyard, it just added that other element to it. So having that lanyard is just really going to make this really pop out when we go through and edit. All right, so now that we have our 2 images, we can go ahead and close this out and open up Photoshop. I think there was an update, so that's why the icon just changed. All right, so we're gonna do a new project. So we're gonna click on create new. When you're doing like your width and height for the resolution, it's all subjective. Since I shot this kind of landscape, I'm going to keep that same format. You could just do the regular 1920 by 1080, or if you want to make this like a 4K file, 3840 by 2160. But either way works. But like I said, since I shot this like in a landscape format, I'm going to keep that same format when I do my edit within Photoshop. Especially because if you're like trying to put this on Instagram, Instagram is already going to compress your photos or videos. So if you have a larger file, it's going to compress it a little bit. It's still going to compress it, but I would rather have a larger file compressed rather than a smaller file that's still going to get compressed too. So I would just rather have a larger file from the get-go. So that's why I'm going to do the 3840 by 2160. We can keep this up the same 300. That's cool. I'm not going to change that stuff. I'm going to change this to whatever name you want to change it to. We're going to do float tutorial. All right, so once we got all that stuff, we got the width and height. Like I said, I use a larger file size for Instagram purposes and stuff like that, or just social media in general. And then once you got that, you're good. You can keep that everything else the way it is. And now we're just going to click create. All right, so now we got this. I'm going to go ahead and import the photos that I took. All right, so now we got these imported into Photoshop. So like I said, you got your background picture and then you got your other ones. I'm just going to use this one. So I'm actually going to close this one out. All right, so we got our background image and we got us, or me, floating, trying to float in this photo right here. So what we're going to do is, it's pretty simple, man. I'm going to uncheck this right here and hit Command C to copy, go back into this right here and hit Command V to paste that. And what we're going to do is hold shift and just get this scale right to fit within this white background. And I want to get more of the sky within it. I think that looks good right there. All right, they're good. And then just hit enter to close that out. So now we're going to go back and uncheck this little, it's like a little lock button. So I'm going to unlock that, hit Command C, go back into our file, and then I'm going to hit Control V to paste that as well. And now I'm going to scale this up as well. Make sure you hit shift and then do that, because if not, it'll do this weird stuff. So make sure you hold shift when you are adjusting the scale of your images. And what I want to do is I'm going to change the opacity, bring this down so I can try to match it up with this original one right here. But you can see I'm kind of a little too far up, so it's okay if you bring it down, because we want to turn this anyway. But we want to bring this about right here. And that's why I say it's very important to get this background photo, because if not, this really can't work. So and make sure you don't really move around the camera, because that'll kind of mess up your proportional stuff with the two images. So yeah, I'm gonna bring this about right here and then just drag this back up to 100%. All right, so now we got our image of me jumping around, and then also our background image. So I'm going to go to this polygon lasso tool, and what this does, it's a magnetic tool that allows you to pretty much cut this entire image of myself out. And like I said, this does get tedious and it can take quite some time. So all you're going to do is, I'm going to show you like a brief scenario real quick. So if I wanted just to cut out this shoe, I'm going to do like a rough cut. If I wanted to cut this shoe out, and then you see how it brings the circle in right there, and now it has little zebra lines. If I wanted to just show that part of my foot, you want to make sure that this is clicked as well. You want to go to layer, and then you want to go to layer mask, and then you want to reveal selection. So everything is going to, it's just going to reveal that portion of what was selected. So that's what we're going to do to pretty much my entire body. Is I'm going to go through, and like I said, it can be tedious, but it's going to be well worth it for the final result. So I'm going to actually speed this up, because this is going to take quite some time. So let's speed this up. Yeah, so like I said, man, you just want to take your time with this. It is kind of tedious sometimes, depending on like how intricate or how difficult, I guess, the image is, if you have like a lot of moving parts within it. And then when you get to the end, you see how the circle opens up, the little circle, so that's going to close. So you see how everything is like doing the little zebra thing again. So now what we want to do is you want to make sure that you're selected on the layer 2, which is this top image right here with me jumping around. So what we're going to do is go to layer mask, and we're going to select reveal selection. And what that's going to do is pretty much going to cut our image out, will be highlighted and selected to be cut out. Then you can see if it's not like I said, you want to take your time, because if it wasn't done correctly, you would have like a lot of white spots around here. But what I did usually is, if you zoom in, you can see all this like pixelation stuff. What I usually do when I cut my pictures out, I usually cut a little bit inside. I'm not like right on the edge, because that kind of leaves the little white spots and stuff like that if you have that around your image. Because if not, what I would have did to fix that, I would have just went to my eraser tool, and I would have just smoothened that out. But since it's already good, we shouldn't have to go through and do that. So everything looks good, but now we can go around here and play with this image. Since we scaled this up from the beginning, we don't have to worry about anything being like proportional. Everything is going to look good. We can bring this to the right, to the left, but I want to make it look like we're falling. All right, if you guys look closely, there's this extra white spot, and I don't want that within that, because it doesn't look good. So what we're gonna do is zoom in. You can hit Option and zoom in on your mouse. We're gonna go back to the polygon lasso tool, and we're just going to cut this out. And like I said, I'm not gonna be right on the edge. I'm kind of gonna be within the inside of what I'm gonna be selecting. And now we got that. If we go back to layer mask, that option isn't available anymore. So what you want to do, you just want to hold Command on your keyboard, and you see how these scissors pop up, and you just can take that out, and it's that simple. And now what you want to do is go to your selection tool or your move tool, and you can just delete that. Boom, and now it's out the image. And now you have that empty spot now. So if you move this around, you don't have that white spot within it anymore, which looks a lot better. If you feel like it needs to be readjusted, make it bigger or smaller, then do that. It's just up to you. It's all subjective, but that is pretty much how we get this floating looking image right here. And I know some of you probably thinking like, where's the shadow and all that stuff, but even in the original photo, if I go back to this one, I mean, there is a shadow right here, but I don't think that's even from my body. It may be, but the way the sun is, you don't have to worry about, at least in this photo, you don't really have to worry about the shadow and stuff. But if there is a shadow, keep that in mind if you are going to have like shadows within your image from your body or something like that. So, but yeah, guys, this is how you make yourself float within Photoshop. All right, so that is going to wrap up this tutorial. Like I said, man, just take your time with this. It is going to be tedious at some point. It took me about maybe 10 minutes to do the full cutout. I've done this multiple times, so I'm kind of used to it. But if you're doing this for the first time, just be sure to take your time, and I'm telling you, it's going to be way worth it in the end and the final result. So just take your time and just get a little creative when you are doing like the whole moving around with the picture and the rotation, all that cool stuff. So, but yeah, guys, that is how you make yourself float within Photoshop. Like I said, you can use Lightroom. That's what I use to edit my photos for the colors and stuff, because I have certain presets and stuff that I want my images to look like. But it's not mandatory or required to use Lightroom for this. So all you really need is Photoshop. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video. If you guys want to see more like photo editing tutorials, just head down to the comments and let me know. I usually do like a lot of video tutorials, but if you guys want to see more cool tutorials like this within Photoshop, I'm not like a Photoshop guru, but I do know a few things within Photoshop that can make your images look pretty cool. So if you guys want to see more tutorials like this, like I said, head down to the comments and let me know. But yeah, man, that is going to wrap up this tutorial. If you guys enjoyed this video or found it to be informational to you, hit that like button. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.